What's up, everybody? Welcome to Party on Broad. Today, we are talking Eagles and what to expect, look forward to, what we want out of the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. Joining us, he is Ryan Reese at Philly Sports PSA. What's good, Ryan?
Not much, man. Good. We had a little time off, ready to talk a little birds tonight. A little off season.
Absolutely. Sadly. Yeah. And then also joining us, he is Rob Lange at Philly_Madness on X. What's up, Rob?
I give you guys credit even wearing Eagles hats and jackets. I've been looking at my Eagles stuff and literally looking at it and wanting to vomit for the last 7 days. So good for you. Yeah, let's it's unbelievable. Never seen anything like it. But it's time to move on. It's time to rebuild and see what happens next year.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to break down. Tonight, we are doing an Eagles stay or go, talking defense tonight. And then we're going to also give our choices for offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. We were going to break down Nick Sirianni, but we're not doing that now. It is pretty much a lock that he will be returning to the Eagles in 2024. If you're joining us live, please be sure to comment, like, subscribe wherever you're watching. We've got Daniel in the house. What's going on, Daniel? Thanks for joining. Let's jump right into our preferred offensive coordinator choice for the Philadelphia Eagles to replace Brian Johnson. Rob, lead us off, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, right? Because how do you want them to attack this right now? Do you want a guy with experience? Do you want a guy? I'm getting frustrated with the whole up and comer because I feel like every time the Eagles do that, one of two things happens: either A, the guy gets a head coaching job the very next year, or B, he sucks. There's like no in between with this stuff. So I'm going to go to a guy who, he's still a younger guy, but he has coached in this league for a very long time, and now he's with San Francisco as the passing game coordinator, I believe, and that's Clint Kubiak. I want a guy from outside of this brass of Eagles, right? I want to go outside. I want to see them get a guy who can bring a little bit more something different to the equation. And I think Clint Kubiak's got to do it. I mean, look, Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. Okay, I'm not going to be one of these people calling him elite, but he has a lot to do with that passing game over there, this Clint Kubiak. And let's face it, maybe he knows how to pass against the blitz and can tell Nick Sirianni what to do in that situation because I can't watch 10-yard routes every time there's a zero blitz on. So I'm going to stick here. I'm going to go with Clint Kubiak. I mean, there are many different directions you can go. But, I figure it's easy to say some of the names that may pop up here today, but I'll go with a little bit out of the box with Clint Kubiak.
Clint Kubiak for Rob. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, when we first started talking about this, obviously this whole Nick Sirianni thing is still kind of up in the air, but yeah, I mean, I kind of just went through and this is somebody I feel like that, as Rob said, we don't need up and coming. We need somebody solid, honestly. And, the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I thought, this is a guy who's kind of been around quietly. Maybe somebody might call him up and coming, but he's been around for a while and he's done really a really good job. And that's Gerard Johnson. He's quarterback's coach of Houston. He had a hand in, obviously the offensive rookie of the year will be the offensive rookie of the year, probably, in CJ Stroud. And yeah, really kind of took his game to the next level, in that Houston offense. And I think he's really the mastermind, to kind of go along with their OC there. But, he also had, a hand in Deshaun Watson as well. And, we've obviously seen Deshaun, in Cleveland away from Johnson. And, he hasn't really been the same. So, I think that the factor here is Gerard Johnson. And, this is somebody that I feel like fits the bill of what the Eagles like to look at. They're never really one to kind of bring in the big veteran names per se. So this is a guy that's kind of under the radar. Again, he's not even a coordinator right now, but this is a guy that's kind of, going to take that step, and he's been very successful quietly in this league down in Houston.
All right, Gerard Johnson for Ryan. It's a really good choice. I like that choice a lot. And I'm going to round this out with my choice, and that is Zach Robinson here. This is a guy that is coming off of being a QB coach for the Rams. He played college football at Oklahoma State and was selected in the 7th round of the 2010 draft. He didn't last long, but he was brought onto the Rams staff in 2019 as assistant QB coach. I feel like we live in a world where anybody who has had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan is exactly where today's NFL is moving towards, and that's exactly where you kind of want to hang your hat. And Robinson has been on McVay's staff for 5 seasons now. Robinson has been the Rams passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach for the last 2 years. And, again, working for Sean McVay's staff for 5 years. So he's one of the top young coordinator candidates in the NFL. Yeah, I went with the up-and-comer. He's an exciting candidate for several reasons. The main one for being how explosive and creative the Rams offensive scheme is. The Rams offense ran the second most motion in football this year. 44.1% of those snaps included motion. In comparison, we all know the Eagles were dead last at 10.9%. The Rams had the 6th most plays of 20 yards or more this season, 6th best in rushing DVOA, 9th best in passing DVOA. And even better, Rob, remember how terrible were the Eagles were in red zone offense this year for a bulk of the time. The Rams were elite in the red zone. On red zone drives, the Rams put points on the board at the highest rate in the league at 96.5% and produced a successful play of more than 39% of the time, which was 3rd best in the NFL. I like Zach Robinson. I mean, there's a lot of candidates that are really intriguing, but give me the up-and-comer, Zach Robinson.
Nice.
Yep. Anthony chimes in and says, "Hey guys, throw Howie back in the shed." We all know, Anthony, that's not happening. It's not happening. Let's roll to the other end, and that is defensive coordinator. I'll go first. I'm going to go Denard Wilson. I mean, this is a guy that we've talked about quite a bit here. Denard Wilson, you could say the Eagles screwed up big time by not promoting him to their defensive coordinator last season. We all know they brought in Desai and then demoted him during the season. And then sure enough, Denard Wilson went to the Ravens, and now they have the best number 1 pass defense in the NFL in DVOA. A Ravens defense that allowed less than 180 passing yards per game. And if you go back a year ago, Sean Desai and Denard Wilson, those were the 2 finalists for the defensive coordinator job for the Eagles. And in hindsight, Wilson should have been promoted since he was already back. He already had the backing of the Eagles defensive unit. And will he accept coming back to the Eagles? Will Nick Sirianni bite his tongue and say, I screwed up? I hope so. I would love – I mean, it's not like there's a lot of roster issues with this defense. It's not like Denard Wilson really would have made this defense that much better. There's a lot of issues. They lack speed in the back 7. There's next to no talent at linebacker. There's instability at safety. There was a severe decline at cornerback. So it's hard to say if he could have got something out of that a little more. But I think this would be a really good fit for the Eagles, kind of correcting their mistakes. The Eagles need to be soul searching this offseason while looking at a mirror and admitting their faults and mistakes these next few months. Fingers crossed, this is step one. Give me Denard Wilson for the Philadelphia Eagles. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I love the Denard Wilson pick, and I really think that a lot of people try to compare the Nick Sirianni situation to Doug Peterson, and the difference was Doug had won a Super Bowl, and let's face it, Doug got a little full of himself. I mean, he wrote a book, he did all this stuff, and Doug went into that office, and when they said, "Hey, you need to get rid of these guys," he said no, and that Nick didn't do that. Nick wasn't going to do that. I think Nick understood that his only chance to remain a head coach right now was to say, "Hey, I'm willing to take whatever you guys say and go." So I don't think it would be that hard for him to bite his, to say, you know what, I messed up and bring Denard Wilson back. Now, will Denard want to come here is the question. But I went I went a little different way. I wanted to have a little fun. It's no secret, okay, that the Philadelphia Eagles have been drafting Georgia Bulldogs now for the last couple of years. So if you're going to do that, why not get a face that they know and love and bring in their defensive coordinator from Georgia, a linebacker guy, and that's Glenn Schumann. Look, I understand college is different than pros, but when you look at Georgia's defense over the last 3-4 years, they have been incredible. And they've developed guys, many of which that are on the Eagles defense right now. So it just seems like it seems like a great fit from that standpoint. I know it's going to college, and can college and pro, can they, will it translate over? But I got to be honest with you, I'd love to see it. I'm sure that those guys would love to see it. And I love the fact, and this really goes for any of the coordinators that they hire, I love the idea of a guy that has linebacker coaching pedigree, because we all know, even though the guys may not be here, we need linebacker coaching. And I'm hoping Howie has one of those epiphanies this offseason and says, oh, shit, we really suck there. And look at what Patrick Queen's doing for Baltimore. Look at what Dre Greenlaw's doing for San Francisco. We've got to get to that point, I think. And, I think Glenn Schumann could be a guy. So I'm going to go there.
Love it. Be nice to kind of reset this team with linebacker. Oh, my God. 65 points for Joel Embiid.
Let's go.
Let's
go.
I love We Didn't House Say Ryan Bros. What's up? The couch.
What's up? Well, yeah, it sure does. It sure does, buddy.
All right, Ryan, who's your defensive coordinator?
So I kind of want a little bit of an opposite. This is a guy that most people know because we face him twice a year, and that's Wink Martindale. I think he is gonna completely, although his hat choice there is less than desirable, but yeah, I think he's a blitzer, which I feel like we certainly got away from, and we weren't able to really get home last year with just our front four. So I think with hopefully an addition to our linebacking core and a coordinator that likes to blitz a little bit more often, we'll be able to put more consistent pressure on the quarterbacks, get some sacks, and get back to what we're good at. And Wink Martindale is certainly a guy that I was a little shocked that he got let go, changed. Got let go with the Giants, but I think he's kind of a veteran guy who's been around for a while. Usually the Eagles don't go that route. Usually it's kind of like the unknown guy that you're like, everybody has to go and Google. But I feel like I'm hoping for a little bit of a change. As Rob said, this is definitely the season, this offseason to kind of, kick the normal way of Eagle life, away and say, let's think outside the box. Let's do the abnormal. Let's go ahead, draft some linebackers first and foremost, and let's bring in a D coordinator that's going to blitz the hell out of everybody and put some pressure. And I feel like with decent linebackers, with a little bit of a revamped secondary, Wink Martindale could perhaps get this defense back to a decent showing.
The question is, do the Eagles go way outside the box for them? And are we looking at a bunch of guys that have been head coaches for a number of years who are now going to fall back. I mean, you've already seen, and I'm not saying that these are names that you're going to love to hear, but you've already seen that they've reached out to Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera was a linebackers coach here under Jim Johnson. I know, when you look at him as the head coach, things did not go well for the Washington Commanders, but do they look at Eric Bieniemy? Do they look at he may not have been a head coach, but here's a guy who has had pedigree. He's an Andy Reid disciple. You know how they like to move Andy Reid disciples over here. There's a lot of different things that can happen. You see him on the screen there. Al Harris, former Eagle. He loved to hold guys defensively when he played here. Big-time defensive holder from what I remember. But he's been doing great things over there in Dallas. Is that a guy that they bring in? There's so many different ways. And let's face it, boys, anyone is going to be better than what the hell we watched for the last 7 weeks of this season. So no matter what, I feel like we're getting an upgrade.
Rob, I think you said a great point there is I wouldn't be surprised if they do bring in at least one of the coordinators that used to be a head coach as kind of a backup plan or an adult in the room, if you will, for Nick Sirianni to kind of give him somebody to kind of lean on to bounce stuff off of, kind of like, the relationship that Doug and Frank Reich kind of had. They had that nice relationship to bounce things off of and checks and balances. And I think what better way, to do that than bring in a guy who's been there in the head coaching spot and to be able to kind of say, hey, what did you do in this situation or whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of the coordinators ends up being a previous head coach.
Absolutely. Al Harris is one of those up and coming guys. Sure. He'll be a defensive coordinator at some point, no doubt about it. I mean, if you're going the Georgia route, Rob, I'm gonna throw out another college name, and that's Jesse Minter. If anybody has been following Michigan, the way they were able to disguise blitzes and just cause havoc, man, that was really impressive. He's the defensive coordinator for Michigan. He spent the last 2 years for the Wolverines as their DC, coming off a national championship. Michigan had the top defense in the country last year. So Jesse Minter could be an option, but that is just some options we have gone through. Anthony chimes in, says the problem with Schumann is he has made it with the Georgia Bulldogs, and I would bring in Seth Joyner or Jack Del Rio. There's a lot of Seth Joyner love.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it.
I hate that too.
Look, right. I love Seth Joyner. Okay, he was a great player here for a long time. But first of all, they're not going to bring in a guy who has literally been ripping them since week 2 of the season, and not just like doing the media thing and saying, "Hey, look, he's ripping them." Like he's too into himself. Honestly, I feel as a commentator, I guess you should say. So I don't know if I like that. Jack Del Rio hasn't done anything in years. I understand the Ron Rivera thing because, like I said, linebackers, he's going to run a Jim Johnson-style defense, which I think Eagles fans would probably love to see that again. He's probably not going to drop Hassan Reddick in the coverage, things like that. But I don't need Seth Joyner as a defensive coordinator here.
Are the Eagles prepared to move on from that like Fangio defense? Like, are we willing to do that yet? Like,
I think they absolutely have to be now, man. I think you saw that. Well, first of all, I don't think you have the personnel to run it the way that you want to try and run it. Like Hassan Reddick is not supposed to drop back in the coverage. Josh Sweat is not supposed to drop back in the coverage. Really, Nolan Smith should not be dropping back in the coverage. They've got to get more aggressive, man. Like, and it starts with getting the personnel into the aggressive positions. For years, we've been screaming about linebacker, but just watch the NFL playoffs right now. It's the linebackers that are making the difference on the defenses.
Yeah. Oh, it 100% is. And obviously, you guys know that I'm a huge proponent of the linebacking core and bolstering that up. And I feel like with, perhaps some of the inefficiencies that we've had and Dean maybe not living up, or at least not yet, I still hold out hope. But if you bring in somebody here where Dean doesn't have to be the guy, I think that only helps. And somebody like a Patrick Queen would be absolutely phenomenal. yeah, he's somebody I wanted them to draft, obviously, but yeah, I mean that you can kind of fix things with just one signing and kind of go with what you have. With some of the other with Dean and whomever else you bring back, but yeah, we need a defensive coordinator that's going to be able to mix in a good blitz, wanna, actually build up the linebacking core and the defensive backs. And yeah, I
Yep.
mean, like I said, it's got to be a mixture of all three phases, and I feel like we haven't had that in a while.
Yeah. Anthony chimes in saying, I wouldn't mind Greg Williams or Rex Ryan, and then Spags from the Chiefs. I think the caveat here is regardless of who they hire, and I agree, Ryan, or Rob, I forget who said it, it's only going to get better, but they also have to play the kids. I know like the Eagles want to like bring in a senior advisor. They want to bring in like some guy that has experience, but at the end of the day, they have to be like the Kansas City Chiefs in the respect of they have to play the kids. For better or worse, they have to let them grow on the field and take their lumps if it happens, and grow this thing naturally through the draft and develop guys. And we really got away from that. Like no more band-aids, no more short fixes. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Grow this thing the way it should be done. And that's what I want to see. And that could be a problem for some people, but for me, like that's where this thing needs to go.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, imagine if Kylie Ringo had played the entire year. Imagine if Nolan Smith was actually, out there and not playing like 2% of the snaps. Like they'd be so much further along. Like again, you drafted Nolan Smith in the first round and he barely played. Yet somebody like I'm gonna say it, like Brian Branch, who's still in the playoffs and it's a position of need, is out there flying around making plays, and we could have easily had him in that spot. And I'm not saying Nolan Smith is bust and all that. We don't know. He's not out there. He needs to be out there. Play the damn kids.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Period. All right. That brings us to our final segment of the show. I'm going to start with the defense and free agents. And then we're not going to touch on everybody because there's a lot of players. But we're going to talk about some of the main notable guys on the Eagles defense, leading off with the free agents. Stay or go. Let's start with Fletcher Cox. He's 33 years old. He's played the third most games as an Eagle at 188. I thought he played extremely well this year from start to finish. Stay or go, Ryan. Fletcher Cox.
It's got to work financially. Fletcher Cox did have one of his best seasons in years, and I think while we kind of are turning the page towards the Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter era, I wouldn't mind having him here for another year if the salary works. If he wants to truly finish his career as an Eagle, and I hope that he does because I do like his presence. I do like having him, there. I'm sure Embiid just did something.
70. He just hit 70.
Hell yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about. That's awesome.
That's insane.
I'm going to say stay because I feel like Howie. I feel like Howie's learned from his mistakes and as far as giving these older vets ridiculous contracts just to stick around. I think Fletch is certainly long in the tooth and should get, a nice discount to hopefully stay and finish his career.
I agree. Keep him an Eagle. Stay. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I would love to see Fletch here, right? But I get sentimental. I'm not going to lie. I get sentimental with a lot of these guys. And when you talk about the four guys that we've talked so much about this all season, those four guys, it's so rare to have four guys spend their entire careers with one team, came in around the same time for the most part. It doesn't seem like Fletcher thinks he's staying, judging by how much he cleaned his locker out. And love that on his way out, he was taking shots, man. He went after McLean and really came to the defense of Sirianni. I would love to see him here, but I agree with Ryan 1,000%. It's got to make sense. And if somebody's going to pay Fletcher Cox, decent money for a year, hey, go get it, big guy. But they can't do that. They can't. Listen, I know that we love to put a lot of our stuff into the defensive and offensive lines, but we've got to start allocating some resources out to linebackers and secondary. And you can't be paying 14, 15, 16 million to a Fletcher Cox for a year. You can't do it. So
no way.
I would love to see him stay. So I'm fine keeping him in the stay category, but it's got to be under the right terms.
Okay. Anthony says the problem is Eagles fans and higher ups want aggressive coaches and want 100 other things, but then turn a 180 and get that guy that's a yes man. Absolutely. One more year for Fletch, and Cox needs to retire because he's not getting any younger. Let's go on to Zach Cunningham. Go. You can go. Ryan, Zach Cunningham.
So I think this should be an easy go, but you have to kind of look at this as a whole. Are the Eagles actually going to do anything to upgrade, the team? Is Zach Cunningham going to be, a top 3 linebacker? Then he needs to stay because we don't have any other options. He was a great pickup from somebody off the trash heap, considering, and he's not going to cost you any money. I pray to God that they actually sign somebody decent and or draft somebody even more decent, and that we don't have to worry about this, and we can go with Dean, hopefully some great free agent signing and a draft pick or 2, and that's our linebacking core, and we don't have to use them. But in the scheme of this game, I'll say go.
Christopher just chimed in saying Embiid just made history. 70 points, 18 rebounds tonight.
That's
and
great.
5 assists. Oh, and Brett Brown was there. I forgot that Brett was there coaching for the that's pretty cool. They're having a big moment right now, the two of them talking.
You think he did? I wonder if he got 70 just because he was playing against Wembanyama and it was like, listen, you got ways to go, kid.
Well, he got pretty good. He got 30 something.
Yeah, he had like 36 tonight. That's so awesome. I forgot that Brett Brown was there. Like that, you figure Brett and Joel, man, they came in together. So that's pretty cool.
Didn't David Robinson get 70? Isn't that the Spurs record?
That's amazing. I'm not sure.
I think that was
all the feels right now with Brad. He looks so happy. All right. Rob, stay or go for Zach Cunningham.
Yeah, go. If you're a linebacker not named Nakobe Dean, you can get the hell out of here and you can stay the hell out of here. And the only reason why Nakobe Dean's not in there is because he's been injured. You know what I mean? So it's like, I want to give this kid a chance, But it was pathetic, boys. It was pathetic. And when you look around the league, look, I don't know if they're going to do it. They probably won't do it. But when you look at some of these linebackers where they get drafted, I think Ryan hit it right on the head. You need to draft one high and you need to sign a free agent, but not just the Zach Cunningham or Kaiser White on a 1-year deal. You need to sign a legitimate linebacker in free agency this year.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw Nakobe Dean and stay. We go with that?
Yeah.
Obviously.
He's not going anywhere.
Nope. All right, let's roll on to our next one. Justin Evans, safety, 28 years old, played 4 games before going on the IR with a knee injury. He forced and recovered 1 fumble, but did very little else to warrant another contract. He can go. Any thoughts on Justin Evans?
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
He's like vanilla ice cream. Doesn't really do much.
Hey, vanilla ice cream's delicious. Don't make vanilla ice cream sound bad by calling them Justin Evans.
I'm sorry. No disrespect to vanilla ice cream.
Damn,
you're right.
I just made this man purple. He said he's out.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Justin Evans is the water flavored water.
All right, we're throwing Justin Evans down here to go. Goodbye. I guarantee you, like most Eagles fans probably don't even know who that is. Look,
Bad, but
let's roll on to Brandon Graham. It sounds like he wants to return. At times, it felt like he was their best edge rusher, and he's the franchise leader in games played at 195. He's kind of in that same boat as Fletcher Cox. If the money is right, bring him back. I'm going to say stay. Brandon Graham, Rob.
Yeah.
I'm going to say. Did you say Rob or Rye?
Rob.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to stay. When he comes out after that game and he says he wants one more year here, he wants it to be a swan song, he wants to retire an Eagle. That tells me he'll take, a very little bit of money, and he's a rotational piece, right? He's not going to play every down, but he's going to be a great leader in the locker room next year for the young guys. He's 1,000% a stay in my book, and I think he's the type of guy that they're not going to make the mistake and let him walk away for a year. They're going to let him have that last year here.
Yep. Ryan?
Yeah, no, 100%. Couldn't agree more. And I think Brandon Graham's going to be a lot more able to kind of work the contract better than Fletch, I think, would. Where Fletch, I feel like Brandon Graham, no matter what, he's going to just take the offer and stay. Whereas Cox can easily be swayed by some money elsewhere.
All right, let's roll on to Shaq Leonard for the Eagles. Stay or go. Late season addition by the Colts. He was often injured. He didn't play great at all in the 5 games he did. Goodbye. Shaq Leonard. Ryan?
This one's tough. It's I feel like, again, you're kind of thrown into a bad situation coming into a team halfway through, and there's got to be some sort of adjustment. And I know he's certainly not the Shaq Leonard that we are kind of used to, but that's not that long away removed, And I feel like if you can get him on a real cheap deal, I'd be fine with absolutely bringing him back. But I think in the grand scheme of things, when you talk about this offseason, yeah, I think Rob's right. Outside of Nakobe Dean, I think you just gotta clean house with linebackers, unfortunately. So I don't like to say it, but I'll say go.
What about you, Rob?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, look, he couldn't have come here at a worse time. He came here as they changed defensive coordinators, as they changed the system. He was already, coming off of a back surgery. There was a lot of things working against him. But I just think you got to start that whole group over. And I just, I don't see how he fits in the plans. He's not going to want to take a small deal or anything like that. So I feel like you got to move on from him.
All right. Shaq Leonard is gone. Goodbye. Let's move on to Nick Morrow. Nick Morrow for the Eagles. Stay or go. Tied a career high with 3 sacks and 95 tackles. That was the second most by any Eagle last year, which is crazy to say. He's gone. Nick Morrow's gone for me. Ryan?
Yeah. Listen, if we're not keeping Cunningham, we're not keeping Leonard. We're certainly not going to keep Morrow.
The Purge.
Yeah. So all three of these dudes kick rocks and forget our phone numbers. You know what I mean?
Rob?
Goodbye. I've spoken my piece on linebackers. We need new ones.
Anthony says if the Eagles can get an experienced DC, you will see Nakobe Dean grow like Nolan Smith. And if I was Eagles, I would sign Swift, BG, Kelsey, keep Cox at a lower price and let everyone else go. Let's roll on to Bradley Roby. He played 9. Is it I always forget. Roby or Robbie? Roby.
I always thought it was right.
Yeah. You look at this guy. Go. He can go. Any thoughts on Roby?
No, the only thing I'll say is, a guy that I kind of forgot was here because he was suspended all year, and I'm sure that they're going to really go is Isaiah Rodgers. And Isaiah Rodgers is a guy that I think, I don't know if he's outside slot, whatever, but you're gonna, like you said earlier, Dibes. On top of that, you got Keely Ringo, you got Josh Jobe, you got some of these young kids out there that you're going to give an opportunity to. So I just don't think there's any room for a Bradley Roby.
Ryan, you good with that?
Yeah, 100%. As much as it pains me because this is a guy that I loved coming out the draft and I thought had a decent career. And unfortunately, it's just I feel like the D-backs and especially the cornerback room is a little too young right now, and I don't see a spot for him.
Yep. Let's get to some of the main notables here. Stay or go, Hassan Reddick, Rob.
Well, if you're going to drop him in the coverage, there's no point to have him on the team. But I'm hoping that whoever becomes the defensive coordinator here understands what this guy's specialty is and allows him to continue with that specialty. He's here. He's not going anywhere. I know he's going to want a new contract, but they're not going to do that right now. He's here, and hopefully he's put in a better position to do what he's supposed to do, and that's wreak havoc on the quarterback.
Yeah.
Ryan, stay.
Of course.
Moving on to Josh Sweat. It was an incredibly down year for him. Kind of got lost in the defensive line there when the rotations weren't exactly what they were in 2022. I think the D-line has talent. It just needs to get better. They need help from the secondary. They need a better defensive coordinator. Thoughts on Josh Sweat, Ryan?
Yeah, listen, I think for whatever reason, that defensive line severely underperformed. And, unfortunately, we set the bar pretty high the previous year. And, Sweat, I feel like, was probably the one that's going to get most of the attention as far as underperforming for what we know he's capable of. I mean, we're talking about a Pro Bowler here. And, I think, again, you bring in a new coordinator in here that can kind of utilize him. I don't see a reason to get rid of him. It's just more or less you just hope that this was just an off year and, he's back up and running and, next year.
Yep. Agree, Rob?
100%. He's got to stay.
Yeah, these next two are just pretty obvious. Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. Obviously, Jalen Carter's staying. Nolan Smith kind of goes in that category of whoever's the next defensive coordinator has to get this guy on the field.
Yeah.
They have to find a way for him to grow, find a way for him to become an impact player on this defense. Both are staying, right, guys?
100%.
Yes, 100%.
Smith, Eagles. All right, talk amongst yourselves while I get this up here.
Well, it's funny. The only thing I'd say about Nolan Smith showed flashes. There were plays that weren't great, but he showed flashes coming downhill, stopping ball carriers. I think he had a sack or two this season. And I agree. I think it's on the defensive coordinator to get guys like him on the field. I thought they waited way too long with a lot of these young guys. I thought they waited too long with Sidney Brown. Now you have the issue with Sidney of a torn ACL. When does he come back? He tore it so late in the year. It's no longer a year-long injury, but he may not be himself until the following season. So whoever comes in here has to be willing to play some of these young guys, especially the aggressive downhill guys who want to come up and lay the wood on somebody.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, these guys obviously, and Nolan Smith, and you said Sidney Brown. I said Keely earlier. We have talent, and a lot of it's raw, and you just kind of got to get them out on the field and let them take their lumps. And man, and if only we knew the season we were about to have. I mean, this would have been the perfect season to kind of get these guys plenty of experience out there.
Next up, Milton Williams, who I thought had a really strong season when he had the opportunity. Mm-hmm. I feel like every time he sees a field, he's making an impact somehow. It's just the Eagles don't really use him that much. in 2022, I felt like the rotation at DT was a lot better. This year, they kind of just ran their main guys into the ground. And Milton Williams is going into the final year of his rookie deal. Stay or go, Rob?
Yeah, I think Milton Williams is an absolute stay. I think he has done enough. He has played well in the limited snaps, and I think they need to get back to that rotation. Look, Jalen Carter hit the rookie wall this year. I think is what happened. You kind of saw it, and when you talk about how much he was getting double teamed a lot, Jordan Davis has to come in better shape. But if we're saying keep Fletcher Cox, but if Fletcher Cox isn't here, you need a 4 or 5 man rotation in those defensive tackles. Milton Williams is DT number 3. I don't think there's another guy if Fletcher Cox is gone that fills that role. Yeah, you could draft somebody. Yeah, you got some young guys. You got more Jomo. You have the kid whose name that I'm not even going to try and pronounce.
Marlon Tuipulotu.
So you got these guys that you're going to give opportunities to, but Milton Williams has been, and look, I was one of those guys who did not like the pick at the time. If you remember that draft, I remember being on with Dives, and that was a draft where the guy kind of spurned Howie Roseman when he went to give him a fist bump. The guy wanted to do it because I think he wanted Alan McNeil, and they went with Williams. But the kid can play. I think he's got to stay.
Ryan?
Yeah, no, 100% he's staying. And honestly, I kind of see a Josh Sweat trajectory in him a bit, and where it's rotational guy, doesn't really get a lot of time out there, but when he is out there, he's been pretty productive, and so I'm hoping a little bit more time in there. Again, if Fletch isn't here, as Rob said, he's the third guy, he's the rotation right now, and him and Ajomo, I think that's not a bad 4-man for the interior defense line. So I'd like to see it. I'd like to see him get more time on the field, and like I said, I feel like his trajectory is on the Sweat path.
Yep. Moving on to Darius Slay, former Pro Bowler. He was pretty good this year, banged up a little bit down the stretch. He's now 33 years old. Maybe a cheaper bet on another veteran could be in the play, but maybe you make him a post-June 1st cut, possibly. I'm interested to see where you guys go with Darius Slay, Rob.
Man, when we get into the secondary, this is when things get a little different. I'm keeping Darius Slay. Why? Because I don't think Slay had that terrible of a year. I don't think he had a good year, but I don't think he was as bad as James Bradbury. I don't think he was as bad as many people on Twitter would have wanted you to believe. I think people got tired of his antics. Now, I've gotten to a point in my fandom where I can look at him and say, this is who Darius Slay is. This is what he's going to make these comments. He's going to say these things. It doesn't really bother me. I think Darius is a guy, when you have the youth in that secondary, they do need a veteran to kind of show them the way. And even if Darius has lost a step, he played at a very high level for a very long time. And I think he's the veteran I'm keeping here. I know the dead cap and all that other stuff, but Darius is the guy that I'd like to see stay. I think he stays, and you start mixing in the young guys with him.
Ryan?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I'm same with you, Rob. I think he had a pretty decent year, honestly, and yeah, I think a lot of the media and fans will tell you otherwise for sure. But yeah, I think he did really well up against top competition. You look at his stats when he was covering their number ones. I thought did a pretty decent job. It doesn't tell the entire story, but still, I think if you're going to be getting rid of one, it's not Darius Slay.
All right, let's roll on to James Bradbury here. You would say he was better than Slay in 2022, but man, he fell off a cliff this year, both in coverage and run defense. He signed a $38 million deal last offseason, but you could designate him as a post-June 1st cut to avoid a lot of those losses in salary cap space and then pursue younger players. He is a go, absolute go. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I think you can't worry about the money that you're going to lose. I think what you saw this year was a guy that absolutely fell off a cliff. I mean, look, and hindsight 2020, right? We were all ecstatic when they re-signed him, but what you saw was a guy that just he's lost it. And I don't even think bringing a guy like Denard Wilson back helps that. I don't think anything helps this guy. I think he's got to go. I think he encapsulated the defensive meltdown more than anybody else on that unit. And unfortunately, I think they got to eat the money and they got to let him walk.
What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, he needs to be a post-June 1st cut. Spread that dead cap over 2 years. I don't want to see him on the field. I mean, I believe we were in our pregame show for the Bucks playoff game, and I suggested it then.
He should have been
absolutely don't want him starting. Keep Ringo out there. And listen, I fully am convinced that I don't believe that the Eagles will draft a cornerback in this upcoming draft.
Wow.
And, yeah, because I feel like they have enough talent, and if they get rid of Bradbury, they can play the young kids. And again, kind of take that Kansas City path where they just drafted an entire, defensive backfield and they let them play and figure it out. And by towards the end of the season, they were all right. So I think we have a little leg up on that with Ringo and Ricks and some of the other guys. So let's get rid of Bradbury. I think Philadelphia fans will be rejoicing in the street.
Yeah. Some comments real quick. Anthony says, if you guys notice, the defense is not that bad, especially on the younger side. As long as they get a coach to know what he is doing, they will be okay. I would trade Darius Slade because he still has value and they can get something for him. And plus it helps the salary cap, and the same with the Bradbury trade, cut him for cap reasons. And DeAnthony King says, please go when it comes to James Bradbury. Just a few more left here. Avonte Maddox, there was a time when he was seen as one of the best slot corners in the NFL. Just struggle with health. This guy looks like a cap guy. Like if the Eagles release him, they can save $2.3 million. It just seems logical at this point. And I thought his coverage skills looked not as good as they were. He can go. Any thoughts on Avonte Maddox?
Agreed. I think he couldn't stay healthy, and when he was healthy, he did not play at the level we expected. And with, as we've said a lot here tonight, with all the young guys, I'd rather see them play, and I'd rather get the cap room back.
I'm tired of him just being a disappointment. To be honest, it's just too much. Ryan, you good with that?
Yeah, Dallas Goedert's not going to be happy, but.
Nah.
All right, rolling on to Kevin Byard. If they keep him, it'll be a $14 million cap hit. If they cut him, a $711,000 cap hit. This guy just sounds like he's not going to be back. How he's going to just try and save the money. This move did not work. He didn't play well. I'm going to say go. Any thoughts?
Go. The money makes too much sense for him not to go at this point. He's got to go.
Yep. Ryan, you good with that?
I mean, ultimately, do I think he will go? Yes. Do I think there's an outside shot that they restructure it somehow so they're not paying him $14 million? Yeah, I could see that. I mean, we all know how he hates admitting mistakes. So, and again, the fact that who the hell are your safeties outside of Reed Blankenship, who, let's be honest, we built up to be the next, great coming of, whatever, and he's not. Who else do we have at safety? I mean, yeah, we have Sidney Brown, but he's going to be out for most of the year. And again, he was a rookie. So what do we have? Like, unfortunately, at least Byard is a vet, knows the game. And while, again, didn't really play very well and kind of same like Leonard, came into a terrible situation where there was a lot of turmoil with the defensive coordinators. And, again, a new coordinator, new year, fully complete. Again, I don't think necessarily he would be bad. It's that money. At $14 million, no way. Get him out of here. But if you could restructure it, save some millions, yeah, I'd be down for it. But
Yep. Last two safeties, Reed, Blankenship. Ryan, stay or go?
you have no other choice but to stay. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, like what are they going to have the three of us out there playing safety? Like, come on. I mean, seriously, like they got nobody back there.
I guess the bigger question is, do you foresee Reed Blankenship as a starter next year?
Yes, because again, you have no one else. Even if you draft a safety in the first round, who say whoever you want to say, and bring them in, who's your other starter going to be? Because again, in our scenario, we're not paying Byard $14 million, so he's out of here. Sidney Brown's going to be on IR. It's Reed Blankenship, and pray to God you draft a rookie in the first round, because there's not that many free agent safeties that are necessarily that appealing. So it's not slim pickings right now, and Reed Blankenship might be our only hope.
Rob?
Yeah, and listen, I like Reed. He's not what everybody wanted him to be, but I think as Ryan said, he is the only one that can play right now on the roster. And especially if you get rid of Byard, but you're going to have to. I just hope they don't try and piecemeal it again. Like for 2 years now, they tried to piecemeal the second safety spot. They tried to piecemeal 2 of the linebacker spots. It's not going to work. You've got to allocate money to those 2 positions, and you have to do it now. Like there's no look. I understand that people are pissed. There's a window that is still open for this team if they can get some of these little things right. You've got to allocate the money to those positions to have somebody that's better than Reed Blankenship play with Reed in the back.
Yep. And then obviously Sidney Brown stay.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect. Did he miss tackles? Yes.
He's aggressive. I love how aggressive he is.
I agree. He can absolutely stay. He's not going anywhere.
A few times, but yeah, I do like his aggressiveness too.
Mm-hmm. So that is our hold on. Stay or go for the Philadelphia Eagles. Final thoughts on this graphic. The Eagles have a lot of players to replace this season, as expected, given how bad this Eagles defense was in many respects. Like Anthony said, there are some young pieces that are exciting if a new defensive coordinator can coach them up. Some comments real quick. Reed showed tons of heart while everyone else quit. D'Anthony says, I like Blankenship. I think a new coach can increase his skills. I would give Maddox a 1 year because he just came off an ACL tear, but he's always
hurt.
Man,
if it's not an ACL, it's a torn pec. If it's not a torn pec, it's a quad or a hamstring. I mean, you just can't keep doing it.
Yeah. All right. So we'll post that on X, and I'll put it on YouTube and comment your thoughts. Did we get it right? But that is it. We will do the offense next week for sure. Ryan, final thoughts on the Birds coaching search and stay or go for the defense?
Yeah, I think there was a comment earlier, and I think maybe it was Anthony that said this process is probably going to take a while, and I wouldn't doubt that as well. And we have a press conference coming up with Howie and Nick on Wednesday. That I'm sure will give us little to no update or any insight in what's actually happening, but. I will say, I hope they're smart about it. I hope they do take their time and not too long, miss out on some good, good potential candidates. And, I'd love to get an adult in the room, kind of a little backup for Nick, somebody to bounce stuff off of, because I feel like that has helped a lot of coaches over the years. And it's always nice to kind of get somebody else's perspective. But as far as the team, hey, we kept 11 players, so at least we can start a team. We obviously need linebacker, linebacker, safety. So, oh wait, what we've been saying all offseason: linebackers and safeties. So it's not hard. Howie, draft a friggin' linebacker, draft a friggin' safety. You have 3 picks in the top 60. Honestly, I think all 3 of them should either be linebacker or safety. I don't care if you go 2 and 1, 1 and 2, all 3 linebackers, whatever. Either way, they need to fix this defense and bring in somebody in here who knows what the hell they're doing.
Period. What about you, Rob? Final thoughts?
Yeah. So tomorrow or Wednesday, when this press conference happens, here's how it begins. Jeff McLean asks a question. Jeff McLean says, "Howie, are we to assume that this means Nick Sirianni's a coach?" Howie will look at Nick. They'll share a laugh. Howie will come back and say, "I don't know where all this came from. Nick Sirianni was always going to be our coach. We never said anything." And it's going to be the same old nonsense line that is not actually the way it went down. And then from there, you're going to get nothing. You're going to get, we fail as a collective group, which they did. Players, coaches, GM, everybody alike. And we'll go from there. I don't want this coaching search to be a long one. I want them to get their guys and get them now. You know what I mean? I don't want this thing to stretch weeks and weeks and weeks. So I'm hoping they can get that squared away, and then we could start talking about the draft and free agency and who fits the mold of whoever they bring in as these coordinators. So, it's going to be another interesting off season here in Philadelphia. No doubt about that.
It's a lot.
Can I just add to Rob's little scenario for the press conference? After Howie and Nick share that little loving look at each other, I would love nothing more than to Howie to turn and say, "That's a clown question, bro. Get out of my face."
Yeah.
Anthony chimes in, says Howie will say you're fired to Nick and bring some schmuck. It's not happening. Nick is not.
He's here for another year.
I have my own personal thoughts about that.
Yeah.
But
whether you agree or disagree with it, he's staying.
Yep.
And he's going to be on a hot seat like you haven't seen before. There's no doubt about that.
We're going to talk about that shit all year.
Yep, absolutely. That'll be.
They better win week 1, or it's going to be hell.
Oh, good Lord.
The good news is, if you're looking for safety and linebacker help, Ryan and I have covered a significant amount of safeties in the 2024 NFL Draft. Positional rankings, scouting reports, highlight reels, you name it. It's all on the channel. Go get yourself some knowledge. There's some really fun safety and linebacker prospects, I think, on day 2. That's going to be the kind of hot spot for those 2 positions. And the Eagles have, they have 2 second-round picks. And if Brian Johnson gets a head coaching position, maybe they get another third. And they'll have 2 third-rounders, I think, if that happens, which would be really nice. So the Eagles need to inject youth and talent on this defense and play them. Put them on the field. Let them grow all season and get them ready moving forward. Howie says Sirianni will make Julian Lurie as a DC. I don't know who that is. Is that his son?
Yeah, that's the one who's going to own the Eagles at some point.
Yeah. All right, guys. Ryan, is there anything you want to plug?
No.
We're doing tight ends next. We're going to do our.
Well, I was going to say we're doing our positional rankings. We have 3 positions left. I think we'll be doing tight ends, as you said.
I'm just getting started, guys. I got to start with position number 1 tonight. I'm going to get into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, right. Yeah, we know. You're good. Tomorrow night we got Birds of the Round Table at 8. We're going to be talking, just kind of a recap of the season and just kind of go over a few things. But my show, Football Smack Talk show, is going to was supposed to return tonight, but I think we might do that early tomorrow. So check that out. And honestly, just subscribe to Edge of Philly and put on that automatic notifications. So that way, heck, right now they're probably doing Sixers post game. So you want to flop over there after you're done here. And this is stay locked in, man, because we all are.
Yeah. What about you, Rob? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I just want to plug the hope here, as I've kind of talked to Dives off the air, is you're gonna see a little bit more of me this year. I'm ready to really get back into this thing,
Let's
get
go.
on as many of these shows as I can to just be that loud idiot who is gonna look at the geniuses that are above me here and guys like that to get my information. But so just keep, as Ryan said, keep following Edge of Philly. I'll be around, especially this off season between here, maybe doing some Sixer stuff. So I'm excited for 2024 with Edge of Philly.
Awesome, man. I've been putting out individual scouting reports. So I'm now over 100 of those. It's been a hell of a grind. I've got 10 more coming this week, and I might just pull the plug because I'm at the point now, Ryan, where I'm at like day 3, guys, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, again, you're probably coming up to like $120. So what's that? Yeah, that's like 4th round, 5th round,
Yeah,
almost
it's not
the 5th
even.
round guys. So that's crazy. So
Yeah. So I'm trying to get as many as I can as we get ready for the Senior Bowl, which is in a couple of weeks.
yeah.
So we'll be doing Senior Bowl previews, offense and defense, guys you should be watching because there's some really interesting names. I think this draft is really deep. It's really deep and with some solid players that, like, as someone who literally follows this religiously, I read about this all day long. Like, I come across guys I've never heard of, and they're like really impressive, like all the time. But the draft is huge, but it's so engrossing and fun. It's all there on the channel if you're interested. So go check it out. So we'll be doing a lot more of that, and we'll be breaking down our top 10 tight ends in the draft. We're waiting to do quarterback and running back until after the Senior Bowl or maybe later because there's so much variability at those two spots. The rankings of those two positions are crazy. So, guys, thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night for Birds of the Round Table. Go check out Sixers post game. Just going nuts about, I'm sure, Joel Embiid's 70-point game, which is crazy. He is Ryan Reese. Give him a follow on X at Philly Sports PSA. He is Rob Langy at Philly_Madness. I am Dives for Ryan, for Rob, for myself. Stay awesome, everyone.